Hello, everybody around the world, Facebook friends, and almost like family. We sort of go on this weird journey together, spying on people. Being aware of people's lives and their posts and that sort of thing. I'm joining you from lovely Noosa, Australia. First, let me say hi to the most amazing group of people on the planet, you guys, and I'm trying to get good light. Unfortunately, the beautiful stuff is over there, but the light is over here. Boy, talk about a video maker's conundrum. So first, happy Thanksgiving to all of you in the United States. And what if today truly is a day of thanks? I know with a lot of the stuff going on in the world right now, you're probably looking and going, thank you. What do you mean thanks? What are you talking about? Well, guess what? Let me just say, first of all, how very grateful I am for every single one of you that's watching this video. All of my Facebook friends and all of you who are finding out about this, you indeed desiring a kinder, gentler world are the gift that will actually create it. So there's something I actually want to talk to you today about called acts of consciousness. And my friend Gary and I were on a telecall yesterday, and it was about chaos being the creative source of all possibilities. And a lady on the call said, these acts of consciousness, and we went, wow, you know what? That's exactly what's required right now, are actually acts of consciousness, where we actually start putting into action the consciousness that we are. So what is consciousness? Well, it's where everything exists and nothing is judged. A lot of you may have seen my friend Melanie Clampett's post. She's there at Standing Rock right now. And for those of you that don't know, they're trying to build an oil pipeline right through Native American lands and doing it illegally. And the beautiful thing that she talked about was, look, check your source of information. Be aware of what you're posting. Be aware of what you're sharing. Don't add to the hype. Create a different possibility. And that, in a sense, is really what the acts of consciousness are about. So I want to put this invitation in your world today. It's a big day in the United States, and it's interesting because I've had people send me messages of gratitude, and every single one of those I receive, it's like, my goodness, what an amazing gift. It's like, it lights up my day, it lights up my life. So what if one of the acts of consciousness that you could do is actually start sharing your gratitude with people? See, this world is made up of all of us, and yet there are some of us that, based on where we've lived, our choices in life, there are some people that are closer to us, some people that we know a little better than others. And when you express your gratitude for those people, that might change their world. Now, I got to show you something. I don't know if I can show you on the video here, but the other day I was sitting here and look at what we have. Do you see the little ducks? Check them out. And I was sitting here the other day, and these 6 little ducks come up without their parents. Okay, their parents are here, which I'm really happy to see, actually. And they came up, and they're like, hi. And I was like, hi, guys, how you doing? And it literally was. It was sunset, and these 6 ducks swam up. I was sitting here on the deck, and these 6 little ducks swim up, and they're just like, hi, good to see you. And I was like, oh, wow. And here they come again. Now, isn't it interesting that these sweet little creatures are just tap into their energy. It's kind of like the way we are when we're being us. We're like, hi, I'm curious, and I don't have any fear, and I like people, and I like everything, and it's all good. So we fed them some highly inappropriate duck food, Rice Krispies, because that's all we had in the house. And, 2 bastards staying together, what are you going to feed a duck? You know what I'm saying? But apparently, if you ever do find ducks, they like ground up vegetables and fruits. So just, maybe this will save a duck someday in the future. But check them out. So these little guys are sort of walking acts of consciousness. And they just have such an amazing level of sweetness, an amazing level of kindness, and just presence. So I want to read a little something about the acts of consciousness. And then the thing that I would ask you to do is ask yourself, what act of consciousness can I do today? Because what I'm realizing more and more and more is that it's actually our acts of consciousness that start changing the world. It's our willingness to be the consciousness that we are and contribute to people that changes people's lives. I mean, how many times have you had somebody who was having a crappy day and you just called them and said, hi? And they were like, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for for thinking of me, and just that changed their day. Imagine us multiplying that on a massive scale and choosing each day to do at least one act of consciousness. Can you imagine just consider the possibility of what that could be like. Now, if you're hearing they're doing construction next door, so there is not somebody in the house chasing people around with a saw, just so you know. Okay, so one of the things I want to say about the acts of consciousness, it's the willingness to have a question. It's the willingness to say, no, I won't do that, when you know it's not something to be done and not something that will create more. And it's also the willingness to never buy judgment as real. And so you want to ask yourself, what act of consciousness can I be or do today that will create a different reality right away? What act of consciousness can you be or do today that will create a different reality right away? I mean, Thanksgiving in the United States, and a lot of you around the world know that holiday exists, because the United States' points of view are rather pervasive in the world. But it's going on in the U.S., but what if it went on for you too, wherever you are in the world? And, I know for me, one of the things I'm going to do today is let the people in my life know how very, very grateful I am for them. And that can be one act of consciousness. And I will do as many as I possibly can today, because it's actually our actions that we take, in addition to the being that we be, that creates a totally different possibility for all of us. And this is the weird thing, is we don't realize that our choice matters. We don't recognize that us choosing to say something kind, or choosing to get over the idea that our impact doesn't matter, changes everything for somebody. And for me, what I'd like to see is a kinder, gentler world. And I'm sorry, my selfie stick is shaking. I thought it would be better. I was holding my phone for the last 25-minute one that we did, and it shook just as much. So I apologize. If you're getting vertigo right now, just hold on to the chair. Okay, cool. And so the thing that I've recognized is courageous people being willing to step up. And stepping up doesn't mean fighting anything. It actually means ending the fight that everybody else is doing, not buying into the fight that everybody else is doing, and recognizing what's actually true for you that's not true for anybody else. So on this American Thanksgiving, just wanted to share this information with you. And one of the other things, Katerina, that I work with really closely, sent me this video yesterday of the mayor of New York, and maybe a lot of you have seen this. And talk about an act of consciousness. So I want to read what he said, because given the world given what the United States is entering into right now, there are a lot of people who are in fear, a lot of people who are concerned. Now, the thing about access consciousness is we recognize that fear actually isn't real. I know it feels real, but usually it's either an implanted point of view, it's somebody else's point of view, or it's a lie you're buying about the circumstances around you. And what it does, it just keeps you from creating. It keeps you from having fun. It keeps you from enjoying your life. And you know what? We should all get to enjoy our lives. All of us. Brown, black, blue, male, female, Muslim, Christian, Jew, undecided, atheist. By the way, did you hear about the agnostic dyslexic insomniac? Yeah, it was interesting because he laid awake all night wondering if there truly was a dog. Okay. Maybe not my best joke, but, what are you going to do on short notice on a Facebook Live? Okay, so here's what the mayor said, and I love this. He said, here's my promise to you as your mayor. We will use all the tools at our disposal to stand up for our people. If all Muslims are required to register, we will take legal action to block it. If the federal government wants our police officers to tear immigrant families apart, we will refuse to do it. If the federal government tries to deport law-abiding New Yorkers who have no representation, we will step in. We will work and build on the work of the City Council to provide these New Yorkers with the lawyers they need to protect them and their families if the Justice Department orders local police to resume stop and frisk. We will not, with the lawyers they need to protect them and their families. If the Justice Department orders local police to resume stop and frisk, we will not comply. We won't trade in neighborhood policing for racial profiling. If there are threats to federal funding for Planned Parenthood of New York City, we'll ensure women receive the health care they need. If Jews or Muslims or members of the LGBT community or any community are victimized and attacked, we will find their attackers, we will arrest them, and we will prosecute them. This is New York. Nothing about who we are changed on Election Day. We are always New York. Somos siempre Nueva York. Okay, so that's just one example. And I wanted to share that with you because when I heard that. Now, I sent the video, or some people that I know about the video, and they said, well, it didn't sound very sincere. I'm like, how sincere are most politicians that you've met? Okay, we're getting in the wind. Apparently the wind is getting into the conversation now. How does it get any better than that? Okay, so, and they said that, and I'm like, well, you know what? It felt pretty darn sincere to me. And that somebody is willing to stand up and say that, and say, we will buck the system, and we will have your back, is truly an act of consciousness. So what act of consciousness can you do today that will change the world right away? And yeah, the post about what acts of consciousness can we be to Israel that's full of fires right now, and to the earth with all the latest events in the world, that's exactly the question. See, I don't have a conclusion, and this is the thing about it, is you want to not come to conclusion. Okay, actually functioning from consciousness is where you don't come to conclusion, and there are a lot of people, for those of you that don't know, there are a lot of fires in Israel right now. And, there's the possibility that they're actually being started by people. And there's this interesting thing, because what you want to do is you want to ask the question, what acts of consciousness can we do that will change this? Like, for example, I just spoke with a good friend of mine in Israel, and she was kind of freaking out, having a terrible day. Well, can you imagine? It's like, it's like with the people at Standing Rock. I would imagine a lot of them have been waking up having what they thought were terrible days. And what I spoke to her about was, okay, what's true for you? And if you be the space that doesn't align and agree, that doesn't buy the judgment, that doesn't buy the wrongness, what space of possibility do you present to the people around you? And this is the gift of you. And so tomorrow I'm actually going to, if I can arrange it, look for the post. If I can arrange it, I'd like to actually do a Facebook Live for Standing Rock and about Standing Rock, building on what Melanie said so brilliantly in her Facebook Live post. And try to create some sense of peace and ease for the people that are really concerned about this. And the thing is, guys, we are the change the world requires. And if you've ever noticed in your life, and one of the things I have the blessing of being able to talk about in class with people, in the Access Consciousness classes I do, is that the time where you think it's absolutely the worst, where it feels like everything is just falling apart, and everything is the worst it's ever been, and you've never been conscious, and you haven't changed, and you're worse than you've ever been before, just take 2 more steps. Just take 2 more steps, okay? Our world has been having this kind of thing go on. The fires, the divisive people, what's going on at Standing Rock, and our natural resources being consumed and destroyed in the search for money. We've had this going on forever. And I know for a lot of you, based on the conversations that we've had, somehow it seems like it actually looks worse, and like the world is getting worse. My sense is, it's kind of like exactly in your life where things look like they're getting worse, but if you just take 2 more friggin' steps, and then 2 more beyond that, you have the breakthrough that allows you to have a level of lightness, a level of space, a level of ease, a level of joy that makes everything that came before it fall into place, and gives you a lightness where you go beyond all of that stuff, and you may never have to go back to it again. And my sense is we're at that place in our world right now. And rather than maybe 2 more steps, maybe we're finally at the place where the insanity has gotten so high that those of us who have the willingness to see something different, desire something different, are actually going to be willing to have the courage to choose to create it. And recognize that we are not going to let this planet be destroyed, not on our watch, okay? 2 more steps, my friends. Please don't buy into the insanity. Please don't buy into the craziness. Please don't buy into the division and the separation. And please don't buy into the trauma and drama that everybody else wants to perpetrate. That's not our reality. And I totally understand, because for the past few days, it's like I've been so aware and wondering, and in my world for the last several years, there hasn't really been much wrong, okay? And I haven't looked at anything as a wrongness, and yet it's been so intense in the last couple of days for me personally that I was starting to go to, is something wrong? And then I looked at it and I realized, no, I'm just really friggin' aware. And I think that's the place we are in our world. 2 more steps. The insanity is finally being seen for what it is. Are we going to answer the call and answer the challenge and step up and be what we actually are? So that's my invitation for you today. You guys are beautiful. Thank you so much for being in the world. I can't tell you. And one other thing, I just want to acknowledge your courage. And a lot of times, I know you don't think about yourself as courageous. You're like, yeah, I'm not good enough, and that tends to be the judgment of you. But I'd like to acknowledge the courage you have. I mean, look at it. So many of you have experienced so many mean people, so many judgmental people over the course of your life. You've experienced abuse. You've experienced poverty. You've experienced heartache, trauma, and drama. You've experienced seeing what's going on our planet right now, and the consumption and the destruction of the earth by people who are just doing it for their own personal gain. And yet you have kept going. You have continued to put one foot in front of the other. And that is an amazing level of courage. Would you please be willing to acknowledge that as a courage it is? And what if acknowledging that as a courage it is another act of consciousness? See, one of the greatest things about doing this work that I get to do around the world is the acts of consciousness that you choose truly create a different possibility. And what they do is they start to bring a lightness. And, I've been doing my damnedest to give people tools for the last almost 17 years now to bring their lives to more lightness, because I saw how much these tools and that changed my life, and recognize that the acts of consciousness that you choose actually build on each other. Okay, so it may seem really difficult today to get to allowance, where everything is an interesting point of view. And if you don't know that tool, you just say, interesting point of view, I have this point of view, to any stuck energy, to any weirdness, to any yuckiness, and then it'll change, and you say again, interesting point of view, I have this point of view, and again, interesting point of view, I have this point of view, and again, interesting point of view, I have this point of view, until you have no point of view. That is another act of consciousness. They're everywhere, really. But what they do is start to create a lighter, greater world for all of us. And for those of you that didn't see it, I did a Facebook Live video right after the election. And if you haven't seen it and this video contributed to you, that video might contribute also to give you a different, lighter perspective on what's going on around the world. So I will do my best to be back tomorrow, maybe a similar time. I will keep you posted, and let's have a conversation about Standing Rock, because I'd like to give these people, these fucking phenomenally courageous people, as much energy as they can possibly get, and as much allowance as is possible, and see what we can do. And I don't have the point of view that we will be able to stop what's going on, or that we won't. I just want to contribute so that whatever occurs with the most ease. And one of the other things that I want to say to those of you at Standing Rock is, guys, you have such courage. And thank you for standing up and putting yourself where you know you need to be right now. And thank you for being a representative for the rest of us. Talk about an act of consciousness. So, I adore you guys. Happy Thanksgiving, United States. Happy Gratitude Day, rest of the world. And once again, thank you for being the gift you are. And what if you truly being you is the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires? You are, and I am so grateful to be on this planet with you right now. Okay, I'm going to go to a Choice of Possibilities class facilitated by Gary Douglas here, do some sessions, do some ESCs, and I look forward to being with you again, guys. Bye-bye. Now, if I can just figure out how to stop the video. Okay, here we go. Bye.